I don't know what's worse, being made to feel like you don't belong, or watching it happen to your child while everyone else smiles for the camera. My name's Kendra Bishop. I'm 36, a trauma nurse from Asheville, North Carolina. I've worked night shifts, holiday shifts, shifts that don't end when the clock says they should. But nothing has left me more shaken than seeing my 9-year-old son, Eli, quietly realize he wasn't part of the family he thought he belonged to. I met Aaron 3 years ago after years of single motherhood. He was calm, charming in that soft-spoken, old soul kind of way. Widowed early, raising his daughter Nora on his own. We met at the hospital, oddly enough. He was there for a zoning consultation, and I was dragging myself to the break room after an 18-hour shift. He offered me coffee. I said no. We talked for 2 hours. 6 months later, we were blending families. Eli was 6 then. He had my curls, his father's quiet eyes, and a heart bigger than any grown man I know. He and Nora got along shockingly well. Nora, the bossy whirlwind. Eli, the thoughtful listener. For a while, I thought we'd done it. We'd built something beautiful out of the rubble. Aaron's family came from a different world. His mother, Judith, carried herself like she was on the board of a museum. Silver hair in a bun, pearls at brunch, and opinions so sharp you didn't realize you were bleeding till you stood up. She never said anything outright. That was her thing. It was the way she looked over Eli's mismatched socks like they were a moral failing, or the way she introduced Nora to her bridge club with pride, and Eli as Aaron's stepson. At first, I let it slide. I'd grown up poor, raised by my grandmother, always outside looking in. So maybe I was just sensitive. Maybe Judith's stares weren't stares. Maybe her, "Oh, I didn't realize he was coming too," when we showed up to her lake house just meant she forgot to count chairs. Then came the photo. Every summer, Judith had a family portrait taken on the lawn of their massive stone house outside Boone. It was tradition. White and khaki outfits, catered lemonade, hired photographer. And this year, she told us to come early. Aaron and I made sure the kids had the right clothes. Nora had a new white dress. Eli wore his best button-up and khakis we'd had to hem ourselves. He was so proud. "I look like a lawyer," he grinned, spinning around in front of the mirror. When we arrived, everyone was already gathering on the lawn. Judith stood by the photographer, gesturing like a stage director. Nora ran to her cousins. Eli grabbed my hand. I gave it a squeeze. "Okay," Judith called. "Let's start with the whole family." Eli started walking forward with the others, and Judith's hand shot out like a stop sign. "Oh, Kendra," she said, smiling tightly. "Let's just do the bloodline first, okay? We'll get one with Eli and you after." I froze. Eli turned back, confused. He looked up at me, then back at the family he'd lived with for 3 years. Nora was already holding hands with her grandparents, posing. I crouched next to him. "It's okay, baby. We'll get one together after." "But I'm part of the family," he whispered. I swallowed hard. "You are, no matter what." They took 5 photos, then 10. Different combinations, siblings, grandparents, Nora with her dad. Every click of the camera was another silent reminder that my son was a guest. When they finally called us in, Eli stood stiff, his smile fake and forced. Later that night, he didn't touch his food, just stared at his plate. "Do you think I don't belong here, Mom?" I asked him what he meant, but he just shrugged. "Grandma says blood is what makes people stay." I tucked him in early that night and cried in the bathroom with the water running. That was the beginning of the unraveling, because the next time I left him in that house, I came back to something much worse than just a family photo. And I swear to God, that day changed everything. I should have trusted my gut. That's the worst part. Deep down, I knew something felt off before I even left town. But I silenced that voice, told myself I was overthinking, that people grow, that Judith was trying. Turns out some people just get better at hiding what they really are. It started with a shift change. I'm a trauma nurse. Emergencies don't ask if it's your weekend with the kids. There was a multi-car pileup on Interstate 40, and the hospital needed all hands. Aaron was flying out for a last-minute client meeting in Dallas. We scrambled for a sitter, but our usual backup was on vacation, and the neighbor who sometimes helped had a sick toddler. So Judith volunteered. She texted me, "Let me step in." The kids need consistency. Followed by a photo of Nora holding a mixing bowl and Eli smiling stiffly beside her, like he wasn't sure if he was part of the picture. Aaron encouraged it. "She's making an effort, babe. Let's give her a shot." And I wanted that to be true so badly, I ignored everything else. I told Eli goodbye on the porch early that morning. He was holding his book like a shield. The phantom toll booth again. I kissed his forehead. "Be good for Grandma, okay?" He nodded, not really looking up. "Will she be nice this time?" I crouched down. "What do you mean?" He shrugged. "Sometimes she talks like I don't understand stuff. Like I'm from a different kind of place." My stomach twisted. "You're kind, Eli. Smart. Thoughtful. There's nothing wrong with the place you come from." He gave a tiny smile, but I could tell he didn't believe me. I left anyway. That Friday night, I was on my 15th hour at the hospital when I checked my phone during a lull. A friend had tagged me in a photo on Facebook. A backyard filled with balloons, a magician, even a cotton candy machine. Nora was in the center, grinning, wearing a tiara and sash. The caption, "Happy 9th to our bright star, Nora Jean. A perfect day." I blinked at the screen. Wait, Nora's birthday isn't until next weekend. I texted Aaron. Did the party get moved up? No response. So I texted Judith. No response. Finally, I called the house. The line rang 5 times before it connected. I heard laughter, music, the magician shouting something about rabbits. Judith speaking. "It's Kendra. What's going on? There's a party?" She was silent for a moment. Then, in her usual clipped tone, "Yes, we decided to surprise Nora. It was last minute." "Where's Eli?" "In his room. He said he wasn't feeling social." I didn't believe her for a second. I left the hospital an hour early. Didn't even change out of my scrubs. When I pulled into the driveway, balloons were starting to wilt, and half the neighborhood kids were still running around with cake on their faces. Judith opened the door like nothing had happened. "Oh, Kendra, you're home." "Where's my son?" She looked vaguely annoyed. "I told you, he didn't feel like joining." I pushed past her and went straight upstairs. I found Eli sitting on the floor of Nora's room. Not his. Heron folding chairs, half-wrapped gifts, and discarded party favors surrounded him. His own clothes had been moved to a plastic storage bin in the hallway. He was trying to put together a Lego set. No instructions, half the pieces missing. "Eli?" I said gently. He looked up with red eyes and a shaky smile. "It's okay, Mom. I didn't want cake anyway." That broke me. I sat beside him, wrapping my arms around his bony shoulders. "Did anyone even invite you?" He shook his head. "Nora said I wasn't on the list. Grandma said it'd be better if I stayed upstairs so people didn't get confused." "Confused?" He nodded. "Because I'm not really part of her family." I lost it. I walked back downstairs, heart pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. Judith was sipping wine in the kitchen, complimenting some parent on Nora's poise. I interrupted with a voice that didn't feel like mine. "You don't get to treat my son like a ghost in his own home." She blinked. "Kendra, please, not here. There are guests." "You mean the guests invited to a party that excluded the other 9-year-old in this house?" She scoffed. "Eli isn't a Henderson. You know that. He comes from somewhere else." I remember grabbing the wine glass from her hand, not smashing it, just setting it down. Firm. "I don't care where you think he comes from. He's my son. He's Aaron's son. And he is not your charity case or the help." Guests started leaving fast after that. I didn't stop them. Aaron got an earful when he landed, and to his credit, he didn't try to defend her this time. "We'll talk," he said. "We'll fix it." But I knew then something had already broken. And what came next? What came next made the party look like a warm-up. It was supposed to be a 3-day conference. Just 3 days. I'd lined everything up, meals prepped, instructions typed, emergency contacts taped to the fridge. Erin was still in Dallas for another day, but Judith insisted she could manage the kids until I got back. "I raised 2 of my own," she said, rolling her eyes like I was overreacting. "One of them turned out just fine." But my stomach didn't settle. Not even on the plane. Not even after my presentation. So when the client signed the contract early and I had the chance to fly back a day ahead, I didn't hesitate. I didn't even tell anyone. Just booked the next flight out of Atlanta and drove straight from the airport. I told myself it was to surprise Eli, to scoop him up and take him for pancakes like we used to do before life got so managed. But deep down, I think I already knew. When I pulled up, the driveway was empty. No Judith's silver SUV, no Erin. I checked the time. 3:42 p.m., a Thursday. School had been out for an hour. I knocked once before letting myself in. The house was quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Wrong quiet. I called out, "Eli?" "Nora?" No answer. I dropped my bag by the door and walked through the kitchen. The counters were covered with flour. A cracked egg sat in a bowl, untouched. A half-finished note in Judith's handwriting sat by the fridge. "Back by 6:30. Be good." "Don't touch the stove." I froze. There was no name, no detail. Just "be good." I moved fast now, heart pounding. I checked Nora's room first. Empty. Clothes strewn on the bed, music still playing on her tablet. She'd left in a hurry. Then I opened Eli's door. He wasn't there, but his backpack was. And his shoes. That's when I heard it. Faint. Rhythmic. Like scrubbing. I followed the sound to the laundry room, and there, bent over with a bucket and a sponge that looked twice the size of his hand, was Eli, scrubbing the tile grout. His knees were red, his face tight. I didn't speak right away. I just watched, frozen. Finally, I said, "Eli?" He jumped. Didn't even look at me at first. Just froze, like he was scared he was in trouble. "Mom?" His voice cracked. I didn't finish yet. I tried. I knelt down, pulled the sponge from his raw hands. Hey, baby. No, what are you doing?" "I spilled juice," he whispered. "This morning, on the rug. Grandma said if I wanted to learn to live in a nice house, I needed to learn to clean it." I just stared at him. She said, he continued, eyes darting like he was searching for the right answer. She said it was good practice. For real life. That Nora didn't have to because she knew how to act better. My jaw clenched. Where is she now? He looked down. Grandma took Nora to the aquarium. They left after lunch. Said they'd bring back dinner, but only if the floors were clean. It took everything in me not to scream. I sat down, pulled Eli into my arms and let him sob into my chest. 4 hours. She'd left him here for 4 hours. No sitter. No adult. No food. No check-in. Just a list of chores and the guilt of existing. Later that evening, when Judith waltzed in with overpriced takeout and a stuffed sea turtle for Nora, I didn't yell. I didn't need to. Eli was sitting on the couch in clean clothes, his knees bandaged, his favorite blanket wrapped around him like armor. I was sitting beside him, holding the note she left. Judith froze. "Oh, you're back early." I looked her in the eye. "Take Nora. Go." Her mouth opened. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." I stood. "You left my son alone. You made him scrub floors while you took your real granddaughter on an outing. You lost the right to be in this house." She laughed. Actually laughed. "Don't be so dramatic, Kendra. A little cleaning never hurt anyone." I held up the sponge. "This is child labor. This is psychological abuse. And if you say one more word to downplay it, I'll make sure a judge sees this note and hears my son's story." Her face changed. Cold, then calculating. "This isn't over." she snapped. No, I said, but it's the last time you're ever alone with my kid. She slammed the door on her way out. Eli looked up at me, quiet. Are you mad? Not at you, I said. Never at you. He nodded, but I saw the doubt. That little crack they'd chipped into his trust. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a confrontation. This was going to be a rebuild. And I'd do whatever it took to make sure he never felt like he had to earn love again. That night, after Judith slammed the door behind her, I didn't sleep. Eli finally drifted off on the couch, his head in my lap, still clinging to that stupid stuffed turtle Judith had brought home like it erased everything. I sat there for hours, staring at the ceiling, trying to sort through the tornado in my head. Rage, guilt, clarity. Mostly guilt. The kind that doesn't let you breathe. I kept thinking, I chose this. I brought Eli into their world. I let him believe he belonged. At 2:12 a.m., I texted Aaron. Call me the second your plane lands. We have a problem. He called at 6:42. Groggy, still in the Uber from the airport. What's going on? So I told him everything. The aquarium, the scrubbing, the 4 hours alone, the note, the way Eli flinched when he heard Judith's car door, the way he asked if he was still in trouble, for spilling juice. Aaron didn't interrupt once. I could hear him breathing through his nose, trying to keep it together. When I finished, there was a long pause. Then finally, I'm coming home. I'll be there in 30. When he walked through the door, he didn't hug me, didn't drop his bag. He went straight to Eli's room. I followed. Eli was sitting cross-legged on his bed, tracing the edge of a sticker book. Aaron knelt in front of him, slow, like approaching a wounded animal. Hey, bud, he said softly. Eli looked up, uncertain. I heard what happened, Aaron said. And I want you to know I'm so sorry. What Grandma did was wrong, really wrong. Eli's eyes welled. Did I mess up? She said I make things harder. Aaron's voice cracked. Number, you didn't do anything wrong. You're perfect. She's the one who messed up. Then Aaron did something I didn't expect. He looked him in the eye and said, I want you to know something, Eli. I love you. I don't just care about you. I love you. And I'm going to protect you better. I promise. Eli nodded slowly. It wasn't a movie moment. No hug and weep. But something changed in the room. A thread of trust, reforged. Later that day, we called a family meeting. The first real one we'd ever had. Just the four of us. Me, Aaron, Eli, and Nora at the kitchen table. We made pancakes. Let the kids drown them in syrup and sprinkles. No lectures, no pressure, just presence. Aaron started. There's been a lot going on lately, and we haven't done a great job talking about it. But that changes now. He looked at Nora. Did you know Eli wasn't invited to your party? She looked confused. Grandma said he didn't like parties. Aaron shook his head gently. That's not true, and that wasn't okay. Nora frowned. But, Grandma said. I leaned in. Sometimes grown-ups are wrong, and when that happens, it's our job to fix it. Then I turned to both kids. Starting now, we're making some changes. Nobody in this house gets treated like they're less. Nobody gets left out. Not in photos, not at parties, not anywhere. And nobody, not even Grandma, gets to decide who counts as family. Eli glanced at Nora, then at me. Does that mean I don't have to see her anymore? Aaron took a breath. It means we're going to make some new rules. And if someone can't follow them, they don't get time with us. We let that sit. Then Nora, bless her, raised her hand like she was in class. I think Grandma is nicer when you're watching, but when it's just us, she talks different. I felt something cold crawl up my spine. What do you mean, honey? Nora twirled a piece of hair. She says Eli's not really your kid, and that it's confusing for people, and that it's better when he's quiet. Aaron went pale. How long has she been saying that? Nora shrugged. I don't know. She said stuff like that even before you got married. I looked at Aaron. He was shaking, jaw tight, hands clenched. I'll handle it, he said. But I was already ahead of him. The next morning, I emailed Judith. It was short. Director, Judith. After recent events, Aaron and I have decided to set strict boundaries moving forward. You are no longer permitted unsupervised time with Eli or Nora. If you wish to be part of this family, you must attend a mediated family counseling session and commit to respecting all members of our household equally. Any attempt to bypass these boundaries will result in legal consequences. Kendra. She didn't respond, but later that afternoon, we received a voicemail from her lawyer. She was deeply hurt, misunderstood, and accused us of weaponizing a child's feelings. Aaron laughed bitterly. She still doesn't get it. I didn't laugh. I just stood in the kitchen making a new list. Not groceries, not chores, boundaries, schedules, names of therapists, a new emergency plan. Because now I wasn't just the mom. I was the line she couldn't cross. And I was just getting started. It was almost a year later when she finally said the words. But by then, they weren't for me. The fallout after we set our boundaries was swift and messy. Judith went full damage control mode, spun stories to her book club, claimed I had twisted the children against her. She even told Aaron's uncle that I had poisoned Eli's mind by encouraging him to play the victim. As if an 8-year-old could fabricate being left alone for 4 hours to scrub tile. Aaron didn't flinch, not once. He blocked her number, canceled the annual Henderson summer picnic invite. When his father tried to step in and smooth things over, Aaron told him plainly, "You watched her do it and stayed quiet. You don't get a pass." Eli was doing better. Therapy helped. Slowly, he stopped asking if Judith would ever be nice again. Instead, he asked me things like, "When we go to college tours someday, will you come too? And can we build a bookshelf together this summer?" Questions rooted in a future he could finally picture himself belonging to. But Nora struggled more. For all her sass and confidence, she missed her grandma. And one day, during a quiet car ride home, she blurted out, "I want her to say sorry. Not to you." To Eli, I didn't promise it would happen. But I said if it ever did, it would be on our terms. Turns out it did. And it wasn't how I imagined. The school hosted a family literacy night. Reading booths, storytime corners, the whole 9 yards. Eli was selected to read aloud from a book he'd written in class about what family means. He'd worked on it for weeks, carefully drawing pictures of all 4 of us, even Mr. Pickle, the dog. Judith showed up. She wasn't invited. But apparently, she got the flyer from Nora's school folder and showed up anyway, clutching a donation check like a ticket to forgiveness. I saw her before Eli did. And I almost told her to leave. But then Eli saw her. And he didn't shrink. He squared his little shoulders, walked up to the podium, and read his story, steady and clear. Family isn't about who's in the old pictures. It's about who sits next to you when you're scared. It's about who doesn't make you feel small when you spill something. It's about who never forgets your name on the cake. Judith didn't blink, but I saw the way her mouth pressed shut. After the event, as families mingled and kids ran around with cookies and juice boxes, Judith walked up to Eli. I stayed close, but I didn't interrupt. She knelt down, smoothed her skirt, looked him in the eye. "I'm sorry," she said. "I should have treated you better. I was wrong." Eli looked at her, quiet. Then he said, "I know. Not I forgive you. Not it's okay. Just I know." He walked away before she could say more. Later in the car, I asked him how he felt. He shrugged. It was good she said it, but I didn't need it. That moment undid something in me. All that time, I thought I was fighting for Eli to be accepted. Turns out, he never needed to be part of their family. He just needed to know he was enough for ours. Judith never got back the access she once had. We allowed brief, supervised interactions during holidays. She toned down the performance. No more passive-aggressive jabs. No more whitewashed, Henderson-only photo ops. But she also stopped trying to be central. And somehow, that was the real punishment. Because the woman who once ran every gathering now had to sit on the sidelines of her own legacy, watching a family thrive without her approval. Aaron never looked back. He even changed his last name legally to Bishop Henderson so the kids would carry both names forward. A small gesture, but meaningful. As for me, I sleep better now. Not because everything's perfect, but because the people in my house, they know what love looks like. They've seen it show up, protect, rebuild, and they've watched it stand its ground. I've learned something the hard way. Sometimes the most dangerous people in your child's life are the ones who insist they meant well. Intentions don't protect kids. Actions do. And I'd rather be called difficult, dramatic, or too much than ever watch my child question his worth again. If you've ever had to protect your kid from people who share your last name, I see you. I hope this story gave you a little fire back. Drop a comment if something like this ever happened to your family. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe. I tell stories that aren't always easy, but always honest. Thanks for listening. Truly.